Evening, everyone. This is Cherif Medawar. I am glad you're with me on the call. I'm a hedge fund manager and an educator. I actually strained through emails regarding this week's call. Cherif, somebody that's not a national tenant, how can I protect myself? Every now and then I have people that have to get or they can't get a national tenant. They just have an opportunity to rent to a smaller tenant. So the question is, how can I protect myself? Well, I'll give you 6 ways to protect yourself if you have a small tenant. Number 1 is get a larger my buildings, and I just ask them for larger tenants because this way you're totally protected. If they default for any reason, you have plenty of time to evict them, and usually eviction will take less than 9 days and would end up and then released. Get a surety bond. There is a type of bond that was discontinued for a while when the market was bad, and now it started again as of last year, kind of mid last year, 2013, and it's an insurance bond. So the tenant, what they do, like I just rented, I had a small space, and this lady came in. She said, look, I'm a single mom. I have like this something similar to a kindergarten. It was a small space in a building that I have, and I didn't know what to do with it. And she had this kind of something like babysitting, kindergarten, toys, whatever. And I didn't know her, so I said, listen, if you can get me an insurance bond, we can do it. So what she did is she had an insurance company check her out. She paid like 10% of the bond, and the bond came in from the insurance company assuring me that if she defaults, I would have payments covering 12 months, provided I show within 90 days after she leaves that I have taken all proper measures to mitigate my loss, meaning I have advertised the space, I put a sign outside, I hired a broker, etc., to lease the space. I mean, what a great way to make sure I would get paid. In the surety bond, they said to me that instead of her paying the deposit, they suggested I return her deposit, which covers for the insurance. I mean, how great is that? Holding a 1-month deposit, I gave her that money. Well, we literally paid it to the insurance, and the insurance guaranteed 1 year of rent. And we worked it amicably, and the insurance stepped in and paid for the 2 months when the space was vacant because it took her forever to leave. So I was covered. I didn't lose any time, and it was back to back. Now it's rented. That space is rented to what do you call this, antique and art place. And the antique and art place gave me a deposit of 4 months, and they have 2 other locations operating, and they paid more rent. So yes, sometimes I work with small tenants, not always, but there is number 1 thing I do is I get an extra collateral. Sometimes they say, all right, we're going to write the lease, and this lease is secured by this equipment or this other location also, or maybe your home, and this is have to involve an attorney because they pledge an actual security, which is a home that has equity in it or something like this. I was doing a lease a number of years ago with a company that was a startup and it was growing, and they had magnetics and all this, and they wanted one of my prime locations, and they were willing to pay very high rent, but since the company was new, there was no corporate guarantee. I mean, the corporation was so small, the credit lines they had were so little, but the owner himself was a very high net worth individual. So I had his personal guarantee, and it was actually secured against his personal residence. So talk about personal guarantee and extra collateral. And by the way, for 8 years, they were great tenants. They were paying $23,000 a month. It was a fantastic lease, and the bank loved it because they saw the guarantees and the collateral, and I was able to borrow against the building very high credit lines. Excuse me. Number 5, I can always, let's say it's a startup company, I can always tell them, okay, not only do I want the extra guarantees of some sort, or maybe a little bit extra deposit. Let's say they cannot put 6 months, they can put, let's say, 3 months. I can say, all right, then I want percentage of sales over, let's say, 400,000 in sales. They expect to sell a couple million a year. I'd like 6% of the additional sales. This way I'm helping them succeed, and I'm getting money over and above when they break even. So the rest of the profit, I'm sharing profit to give me maybe corporate guarantee or whatever. So percentage of sale, I always ask them, how much do you think you're going to sell? And usually, they say, oh, we don't think we're going to sell more than $500,000 a year. That's all right, $500,000. So you have rent of so much, percentage of sales or more. Another thing I like to do very much, I remember one of my buildings a long time ago, I had a couple that came in and they were in a jewelry business. So what I asked them to do is number 6 here, I put in the contract that in case of default, the merchandise and equipment will be part of the settlement. So if they actually miss the payment, and I notify them, if 30 days later they cannot make up the late fees and payment, bring everything current, I have the right to any merchandise left in the store and all the equipment, which is all their, they had very nice cabinets with inside light, etc. And I remember about 7 months into their lease, they just disappeared. The store was closed. You could see the merchandise inside. Everything is very nice, but they had the gate down, which was the metal gate. You could see through because they had these bars. So I called her, and she said she caught him cheating, and she, you know, this is, I should talk to him. I called him. He said he's getting a divorce, and I should talk to her. They went like this back and forth, a couple phone calls, and then I just, you know, send them by email both the scan of the contract they signed, and I said, you know, I just want you to know that I have the right within the next 48 hours to go in and take all the jewelry that's left in there with all the equipment, etc. Guess how fast they came in and settled with me with a cashier check and all, very friendly, and the whole thing was settled. Same afternoon they came in. I didn't even have to get upset or even have an attorney. Just called in, and the guy said, I'm coming over and we're going to work it out. How much do I owe you? What's the late fee? Didn't even argue. Came over to the cashier check. I went to the bank, deposited. I said, this is good. Yes, finally. Signed that I release him of the lease and all this. I gave him literally 24 hours to clean up the space and had him also pay a little bit more for the painting and all the stuff. So you can work with small tenants. Now, you know, in the joint venture program, I tell you, I am looking for an empty building that you put under contract, the training you've gotten, which is the actual description of the location, the photos that you've taken, the build, maybe an Excel sheet of the street, etc. All those that attended the live training with me for a day and a half, you know exactly the package. Those of you that looked online, you know we have all this information online. So I like to review what you're going to send the tenants. Then you start making phone calls, leave messages, send them your email, follow up the next day. If they're serious and they want to talk about letter of intent, email me. I'll get with you on the call. We're going to close them. We're going to make it happen. Those are the deals you can assign to me. They're not national tenants. But on this call, I wanted to show you that there are ways for you to still have income with retailers that are small timers, that are not the big players. There are many ways to make money with this. And I always would say, with no exceptions, I much prefer to have a commercial tenant, the retail building, like the way I'm describing here, than a rental with a residential mom and pop. Even the best mom and pop will not hold a candle to a retail tenant, because people that are in business will always try to pay the lease on the business because that is their hope, that's their survival. Okay, get a larger deposit for 6 months, maybe 4 months, whatever you can get. I usually like 6 months deposit. I get an insurance bond. I just ask them to call an insurance, and then they deposit usually 10% of the value of the yearly rent, and the insurance just issues a guarantee for me that they will actually ensure that the rent will be paid on time for the 12 months. And if people default, then the insurance tells me there are specific actions I have to take, immediately notify the tenant in writing, notify the insurance, and then take legal action to get them out, and then the insurance refunds me all that. And as long as I show them that I'm trying to rent the space, they will make the payments for me and to me. And number 3, I get an extra collateral. Sometimes I ask for their home as collateral. If they don't have any other assets, then I don't want to rent to them, but I try to get extra collateral. I get personal guarantees. I gave the sorry, I gave the example of a wealthy gentleman that was starting a new company with very clever ideas and clever kind of necklaces and things that change color, etc. And you know, I took the personal guarantee that was also guaranteed against his personal assets and his name, etc. And he had the, you know, this was such a good deal. $23,000 a month, was fantastic lease, excellent personal guarantee, excellent credit with the CEO of the company, high net worth, property worth several millions that he had, and we used the collateral and the personal guarantee, which gave me peace of mind. There's no substitute to a large tenant, national tenant with the corporate guarantees, but nevertheless, a personal guarantee will do fine in cases like that. Sometimes I even take the situation to my advantage and I tell them, I'll take a percentage of the sales. And usually I start by asking, how much do you think you're going to sell? They think they're very clever, so they lowball the sales. They think they're going to lowball the rent. And then I say, okay, then you can pay this rent, but I'll take a percentage over the whatever number you gave me. And, it often works. I've done percentage of sales before. You just have to have them report the sales monthly. Sometimes you just have to monitor it a little closer. But a lot of these companies don't have time to play games. They really want to do it honorably, and the larger the company, the easier it is to get percentage of sales. And last but not least, I put in the contract a clause that says that in case of default, merchandise and equipment will be part of the settlement. That means landlord shall have the right to all merchandise and equipment up to and including the default amount with the late fees and interest. Anything more than that, I don't have the right to it. So I gave the example of the jewelry people that have a lot of merchandise. Well, they owed me about, it was like $8,500 or $8,800, something. It was less than $9,000. So probably I would have taken enough merchandise to be able to sell it wholesale to come back whole, so I don't lose any money based on the contract, and any other merchandise I would release it to them. And if you are going to take merchandise and equipment from anybody, I suggest you always have a witness. And I even have gone to the extent of recommending for some students that had to evict somebody, use a camera, use somebody to film the whole thing when you come in and with the witnesses, etc. And this is a way to find ways to work with smaller tenants. For those that own buildings or tell me they don't want to really look for national tenants, they already want to work with whoever they have right there and then. So that's the quick recap of half a dozen ways to work with smaller tenants. Good, and then I mentioned you have everything online, and let's make it happen. I'm looking for deals to be worked out here in the month of August. We're also doing a training at the end of August. It's going to be in Puerto Rico, 28th, 29th. The following, I think, Monday and Tuesday, right after that, it's going to be in Cancun. So those of you that actually already invested in this training for the joint venture program and haven't taken the live training with me, come on, let's make it happen. Let's get you going so we can start and making the deals happen. You have all the archived calls online, so you can actually listen in, and if you still have questions, always send your question to info@cmrei.com. I want to thank you all to be on the call. Any other questions, Ashley, before we wrap it up?
Nope, that's it. You covered everything.
All right, thank you all, and have a great evening. Take care. Bye-bye.